Lycan in 727. Is he still strong? Well, the win rates, if you look at them, say no, but I say yes. I think a lot of the decrease in win rate is people just sort of freaking out and trying all sorts of weird builds on Lycan, but I think that once the dust settles, people will reconverge on Dominator into Necrobook builds, and Lycan's win rate will go back to normal. Not to the height it used to be, but at least at high level plays I still think the hero is going to be reasonably strong. And today we're going to take a look at a game of 33 playing the hero in a very high level pub. Welcome to the Church of Obelisk. My name is Jon. So right away we're going to see Lycan do some sort of crazy weird experiment in terms of item builds. He's just started with a Quelling Blade, got one Shared Tango from his pool support. That's to give away 3 of her tangos, and then he's just going to rush for Helm of Ironwill. Of course, Helm of Ironwill now a component in the new Dominator, so that kind of makes sense to get that item early. It's a lot of regen, a lot of armor, a very nice item for Lycan to have, but I don't know if I can get behind this kind of item build here. By the way, Clockwork now pulling this lane, which is something you can now do with the first wave. You couldn't do that previously, but I mean, it's still going to be in the same position here, so I don't really know what the point of that was. But yeah, so he's just not going to have starting items except for Quelling Blades, and that of course is going to make his laning phase at the start a lot weaker. Lycan is one of the series you can get away with this, because you get all that regen from Fatal Impulse, and you already have a lot of right click damage just with your wolves and your natural base damage. But I still feel like, getting a couple of branches and a couple of mangoes would be good here. But this is what 33 is going to go for, and as always, you're just going to try to get last hits as well as possible, and keep your wolves alive, but don't stress too much about losing wolves. They don't give that much gold. And in this new patch, it's also important not to die. Previously, deaths at the start were pretty irrelevant as long as they were in first blood, but now that deaths give a lot more experience and also a little bit more gold, it's a bit more important to be careful not to die. Courier kills also give less gold, but still of course it's annoying to lose your courier. So Clockwork doing a pretty good job here, and our maiden in a bit of trouble. So she's gonna get chased down here as Lycan. You can't really do too much here. And of course, if you had more items, maybe you could do more, but as it is, he just has to watch her die and just continue last hitting. And he's doing alright in the last hit department. He's actually leading there. So even though they have this one death here, and even though these deaths are now more impactful than death would have been in last patch, it's still going reasonably well in this lane. And now you can start to see the power of this build. So he's even gone for Feral Impulse at level 3 for the second level. So the second level in Wolves doesn't really give you all that much. Like, sure, we have a bit more damage, attack slightly faster. They don't really get any new abilities. They're not that much better. And if you're not going for these mana regen items, you're not going to be able to summon Wolves all the time anyway. So might as well go for this Feral Impulse, which is always active. Second level gives you another 2 HP regen and 12% bonus damage, so it's an ability that scales really well. And then together with the Helm of Ironwill, you just have so much regen. Like, he has 12.3 regen here in this lane, not even using a tango or anything like that. And then he also has a lot of armor, 7 armor, so now he's super tanky and he can't really be harassed out of lane. And that's sort of the power of this new Helm of Ironwill, and part of what makes this new Dominator actually a pretty strong item. Runes are coming up, and they're not really powerful enough to contest. Like with this build, you have all of the stain you need, but you're not really that strong at fighting yet. You're just gonna go and deny this one bounty rune to at least spoil some of the enemy's fun, and he's just gonna go back to last hitting. And he's now gonna have his Dominator. Unfortunately, this courier is now really slow because it's also flying out of clarity, but the clarity is kind of important because he's kind of low on mana and he's going to have his shapeshift soon, and you want to have enough mana for your wolves and for your shapeshift. And notice at level 5 he's gone for the wolves again. It's just really important to get those level 3 wolves. You have that cripple ability, which is very powerful, and now he has a Centaur Conqueror, as well as those level 3 wolves, so now I can really fight any enemy, and Pangolier just has to avoid Lycan now. You can't really fight straight up here because that centaur is just too powerful. You know, this guy has over 100 damage. Like, this is just an enormous amount of damage. So this guy actually does more right-click damage than Lycan does. Actually, that's kind of close, because Lycan attacks a bit faster. But yeah. Pango has to run, he gets stomped, but he's fairly close to his tower, so he's able to escape, but still it's of course a very good trade. They didn't use anything major, and they almost killed the Pango, as well as forced rotation from that clockwork. Crystal Maiden is trapped here, so Lycan goes to rescue the damsel in distress, and this clockwork looks like he spit off more than he can chew, and gets killed by Crystal Maiden. And now they can again go into this Pango. Stomp is available. Pango is level 6, so he's not a whole lot of chance of getting that kill here. But they're still going to just be annoying here with that Earth Spirit. Pango is actually kind of low, doesn't have mana, so he's actually getting killed. That's, I guess, a bit of cockiness on his part. Earth Spirit tries to play his way out of this, but he's gonna die. So it's a 1-for-1 trade, but they also forced rotations here. So it's overall pretty good, and now Lycan is level 6, and he's gonna look for a kill, and this Oracle looks juicy. Level 5 support with no sort of save available, and gets stomped, and gets killed. So very nice. It's always very good if you can get a kill with that first level 6 right at the start. That feels really good, and just speeds your game up a lot, especially in this new patch when kill is just a bit more valuable. He takes over now this Helm Smasher, which is a better farming creep. It just does about as much right-click damage as the Centaur, but also has this aura and has the Thunderclap ability with the infinite mana to play with. So it's a very strong farming creep, and you can also actually take this Harpy Stormcrafter, also a really strong creep. With that ability, chain lightning ability with lots of extra mana regen, it's quite powerful. But he's gone for this, which is of course a stronger fighting creep, and also just if you have these stacks, Thunderclap is quite a strong ability for the early game. As Lycans want to do, now it's going to do some sort of jungling here, doing the stacks. Doesn't get this stack, but gets this one. So of course he's still jungling quite fast, not as fast as he used to with the old Necro, but still it's pretty fast. And now he's going for the new Necro, which of course is a lot worse at farming, but it's actually slightly better at fighting. He's slightly more hero damage, so he's going to go for the next ultimate. And that with that silence, Pangolier is not going to be able to get away. And that's another kill down. And Leshrac is also being chased down. Just look at those crits, look at those crits. And Leshrac dies. Lycan are also in trouble. But with that freeze coming in, and Clockwork of course his battery assault, hitting all these units rather than Lycan himself. So Lycan gets away here, gets double kill. On total 3 kills for nothing, so a great fight here for the Dire. One thing that's great about the new Dominator is that these creeps are now strong and independent. They don't need no hero, they can just do things like this. He's going to wait here in this lane, and he's going to nuke this, farm this wave, while his hero is jungling up here. So enemy is sort of forced to react to this, otherwise they're going to lose his entire creep wave. And since you're in the jungle, you can always just take over the next creep when your creep gets gone on, and thereby deny the experience. So creep now gets low, and he actually just takes the next creep here. Unfortunately, he's being ganked here while jungling, so he is going to die here. He has no ultimate up, so there's no way of playing out of that situation. But his team are coming in, they're avenging him, and Earth Spirit rolls in, gets a very nice ultimate here, and now TA is here to clean up, and this fight is going to go really well. One hero after another dying, and yeah, it's 3 deaths now, and even more chasing going on here. This Clockwork is also eventually going to die. There we go. So 4 for 1, that's a pretty good exchange. And even without the awesome power of the old Necro, you can see Lycan is still top of the net worth. Admittedly has got 5 kills and 3 assists, but still he's farming quite well. You can see these camps still fall pretty fast. They would have fallen slightly faster in the old patch, but it's still really good farming, and a lot of the sort of downtime in farming is really just walking between camps, and that's going to be the same as ever. And actually doing these camps is so fast if you have all units together. So Lycan, of course, he does farm slower, but it's not that much slower. This hero is still completely fine, I think. 33 has picked up a new creep, a ghost, and this ghost lady does 87 damage when you dominate her, with a 1.00 second base attack time, so that's 87 DPS. And if you have the aura from Lycan nearby, it goes up to 130 damage, so that's 130 piercing damage DPS. And against creeps, that's another 50% extra, so it's almost 200 DPS against creeps, which is insane. Now, granted, it's not as insane as the old Necro one, but it's still a lot of farming speed. It's also actually pretty good against the heroes because of the slow. It's, you know, a 20% slow, actually 25% slow, but that's still pretty noticeable. And even though it's piercing damage, she still does a reasonable amount of DPS against heroes just because the numbers are so high and she attacks so fast. Generally speaking, the game plan as Lycan is always fight when you have ultimate, then take an objective if possible after you won the fight, and then go back to farming when you have shapeshift. But sometimes you're just forced to fight and they want to defend this T1 tower. It's a very important tower, of course. So he goes in here and he's gonna fight. He only has the ghost and his wolves right now. The Necro is also on cooldown, so it's a difficult fight, but they want to keep that T1 tower. So in this kind of fight, just be very careful that you don't go too deep. You have to be very careful that you are a very low mobility hero outside of your ultimate, and so he actually gets picked off here. Tries to go for the Ursa, but it's not going to work out, and yeah, this is not a particularly good fight. And that just shows the importance of that Lycan ultimate. And yeah, so they decided to go for this defense because they thought they were strong enough, but it didn't quite work out that way. And now the T1 tower is in danger. But they want to continue fighting here. They actually find the Pango. Pango is going to die here and actually walks back in with his Dominator group. He also has Dominator, and to try to yoink that 100 gold bounty from the Necro, but actually feeds the 200 gold bounty from his own Dominator creep. So that was not exactly efficiency. And it's just like interesting how many heroes are now going for this Dominator. I feel like partly it's just people experimenting with the item. You know, this item is new, and you don't really know which heroes it's good on yet, so it makes sense to experiment. It's also, I feel like, an item that's just pretty fitting for a lot of offlaners. Just the stats it gives, this 6 attributes, 6 armor, 6 HP regen, those are offlaner stats. Those are the stats that most offlaners like. And then just having this like independent creep that can farm, that's pretty good at fighting, that can add some utility to your team, seems like it's pretty much in line with what a lot of offlaners want to do. So I feel like it's going to be a lot of experimentation with this item, and I'm not quite sure if it's really good enough on most heroes. I'm pretty sure that it's good enough for on Lycan, but on a hero like Pangolier, I'm not sure if it's actually good enough, but time will tell, I guess. The Radiant finally took the mid tower, and now they're into Roshan. Of course, with Ursa, Roshan is always quite quick, so it's important to contest that, and this is why Lycan is now coming to the top and joining his team, but the time is running short, so nice kick here from Earthspirit. And as Lycan, of course, if you want to sort of run in here, the target you want to go for is Oracle. Oracle is squishy support, also is support that has the heals and the saves, so we're going to kill him first. It's very annoying playing against this clockwork here with all those cogs. So you want to go for preferentially the Oracle. Once he's dead, probably the Leshrac is the next most important target. It's always more easier to go for these ranged heroes because they don't have damage block. So you know, run around here, around those cogs, and catch off this clockwork, but it's actually picked up now this Harpy Stormcrafter, which is a very powerful creep actually. It has the chain landing ability, which does a decent amount of damage, and with 7 mana regen, this is actually quite powerful. It actually also gets mana regen from the Arcane Aura that Maiden is alive, so even more mana. But yeah, this fight in the end didn't go too well here, but that's okay. It's like just once your ultimate runs out, you kind of have to be a lot more careful and back off if the fight isn't already more or less won. And now they can just have to let this Roshan go. They can't really contest here without Lycan's ultimate and with 2 of the heroes still being dead. So they're just gonna let this Ursa have the Aegis. Now that he has his Dominator and his Necro 3, he's gone for Power Treads, which is a good place to get that item. Just a very efficient item. You want some movement speed outside of your ultimate, and this attack speed and stats are also quite useful at this stage of the game. So Power Treads is a really efficient item. And afterwards he's gone for an Echo Saber. This is an item that you never used to see on Lycan, except in that brief period when Lycan was played as just a right clicker. But now Echo Saber is actually an item that builds into Silver Edge, and I don't really quite know why he's going for Silver Edge. There's nothing really too important to disable here in terms of passives. I mean, I guess the Fury Swipes is nice and all, but I think it's mostly just 33 just trying to try out this new item and just seeing how it feels to go for Silver Edge on Lycan. I feel like this is an item you can definitely go for now in this new patch, but it's, I think, more of a situational item that you want if you have to deal with some sort of important passive. But here I don't really think that's such a great item. And one thing that Silver Edge definitely has going for it is now is a much better build-up. Like Echo Saber on its own is a fairly efficient item, then you have the Blitz Knuckles, which as far as like components go in that price category is a very efficient item. It's 35 attack speed for 1000 gold, so definitely never sad to buy this item on the way to your Silver Edge. A fight being joined here, and yeah, once again you're going to go for the ranged heroes, you're going to go for vulnerable heroes, but there's nothing really you can go for here. This is not a fight that's going well, and yeah, you just have to know when you need to back off. And it's definitely one such situation. Even though you use the ultimate, he's going to go and push out some other waves and just let the enemy have that fight. Radiant are pushing the high ground now. So as Lycan, you're going to come in here, you're going to go for the Oracle, get the Oracle kill. You're not going to go for Ursa. Ursa just kills the summon so quickly with his Battle Fury. Also he has Butterfly, so he's not really dying. So you're going to go for other targets. Clock will be a possibility, but he has Vanguard, so Pangolier it is. Pangolier is not that tanky, but he's got safety by Oracle, and with ultimate running out, you have to let him go, and in fact, it turns out he's going to survive and be completely fine. So high ground is defended, they forced a couple of buybacks, so there's a really big swing here for the Dire lineup. 33 is pushing out this lane with a couple of creeps and hiding very shallowly in the jungle here. And yeah, this is just him playing really cocky. If you're going to push out this wave, you have to be very careful, and he just stood like right there in the trees and was easy to find, and he's even dying without buyback. So that's pretty disastrous, and it's definitely going to be a tier 2 here for the Radiant lineup, and possibly more, so they're going to try to go for the high ground. They still have this very powerful Ursa with his Butterfly that hasn't been answered yet. Actually now it has MKB now on TA, so Pangu, I'm not sure what he was doing up here, but he just gets killed. His team wasn't really in position to help him, so yeah, that was a complete fail of a high ground push. So now it's completely fine, and Lycan is going to be back in a couple of seconds. By the way, some interesting warding here from Earthspirit. He plants this ward, which gives a reasonable amount of vision, but it's blocked here by the trees, so he's going to cut those trees. And now it's actually a really strong ward, and it's not a ward that's going to be dewarded all that often. Like, it's not in range of this cliff, so if people deward on top of the cliff, they're not going to find this ward. So I actually really like this ward. Roshan is up once again, and with Lycan respawning, they're gonna go and try this, but of course Ursa comes here to play, and Lycan is getting kind of low here already. And yeah, he still has his units up, he's gonna be able to take a creep here, but he just has to play this very carefully and will play around the fight here, be nearby, so his aura is gonna affect his creeps if possible, but most importantly just not die. Now you can come in here and yoink that support here, that oracle, and of course now once again you have to be very careful when the ultimate runs out, especially if you don't have that silver edge available, you don't have to PKP or anything like that. So they win the fight, but they're all very low, so it's going to be not that easy to actually do Roshan, because like who's supposed to tank that? Probably actually TA with all those refraction charges could tank the Roshan, but yeah, Lycan is a bit low, and his wolves of course also not exactly very tanky. Actually now they have, yeah, I take that back, they have the Enchantress who can tank it with her Untouchable. So they get the Roche, and Cheese actually goes to Enchantress. I don't know, I think it would have been better on Lycan. You generally don't want to have the Aegis as Lycan. It's much better to have a hero like TA, because Lycan, if you die and you respawn without the ultimate, you're not really doing very much in the fight, whereas TA is always ready to fight. So if you have these long cooldown abilities, especially these transformation abilities, Aegis just becomes a lot weaker. Another ult being used, they see the enemy lineup here, and they go in. Lycan, of course, as always, want to go for Oracle if you can, so he goes straight for Oracle, and Oracle unfortunately survives, so this fight isn't going too well, not really going to plan. Now he has this Centaur. They did get one kill on the Clockwork, and with Enchantress and her Dark Summoner they catch another one, and so now they're finding these kills. But with Lycan Ultimate over, you have to be careful, you don't want to commit it deeply here, and what Earth Spirit does here is pretty much the definition of committing deeply, but they're actually so strong right now, especially with that TA and her Aegis, that they can get away with this, but this is very risky and not exactly textbook play, but here in this situation it's fine. 33 now going for BKB, which makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of magic stuff going around, and then he's going for the MKB, which of course is strong against Ursa and his Butterfly. One item that's kind of missing here is AC, which would be really strong here because they have a lot of physical damage here from TA as well as of course TA's armor reduction, which of course is great if you can stack multiple sources of armor reduction. So AC I feel like would be very powerful here. It's been nerfed a little bit, it no longer gives the +5 to all stats. It does give 5 more attack speed on the aura, so on Lycan it's actually almost as good as it used to be. So yeah, I feel like AC would have been a very smart item as well. I don't really know whether you actually need that MKB, because you're not generally going to be killing the Ursa anyway, you're going to go for the other heroes. And it's fine just to leave the Ursa killing to TA, and you can just go for the other heroes. So I feel like MKB is not that powerful here on Lycan. I'd rather see the AC, but that's what 33 is going for here. Up at top, Ursa just has been assassinated, and now they find an Oracle, so of course going to go for Oracle here. But Oracle uses ultimate and is being quite annoying here. But with Leshrac coming in, all these creeps from Lycan just die, but Leshrac is also going to die here. So that's a very big win here. The 3 heroes dead. Actually, Oracle also died. Oh, he died in the fountain. Okay. That makes sense. So now, of course, they have all 5 heroes alive and 3 heroes dead. So of course, you're going to go for high ground, if at all possible. We still have the Aegis. No, that Aegis is gone, but still, that's a very stacked TA. She's incredibly farmed, and the creep wave arriving. That is almost certainly going to be some objectives here. Takes over this very nice Halberd Smasher creep. They're going to push in both those ways, very important. And they're going to try to take 2 of this lane. So this lane goes down, and the other one is probably also going to fall. But now the enemy heroes are back alive. So It's a bit more risky now, but they do have Shapeshift up, they have BKB up on this Lycan. Well, it's not too bad, but they get back after the tower here. So they took one entire lane and one tower, putting them now in a really nice position, also 20k net worth lead. Also, they find an Illusionist Cape here, which is one of the strongest tier 4 items. It doesn't like fit Lycan super well because it's not like an illusion hero, but he does give the plus 10 bonus damage to his controlled units, which is great, and these illusions are also gonna get super speed when you use the ultimate, so it's a pretty good item actually on Lycan. Push is coming in at top, while the rest of the team just hanging out here. Smoke used here by the Radiant, so they're gonna try to cut them off and find an isolated hero. They find TA here, but don't actually see her because it's night. So they go for the Maiden. Maiden actually survives, but now gets killed. But Leshrac is also very vulnerable. And once again they go for the ranged heroes. And both are taken out now. Now you can go for the rest. And goes for the squishy supports first. Clockwork with Crimson Guard is quite tanky against all these units, but now on the Lycan with Lycan having all these items, actually does a lot of right click damage himself. That's like 400 damage here. He doesn't attack that fast, but also has double attack with that Silver Edge, and yeah, that's just going to be pretty much the end of this game. So as you can see, Lycan still does a lot in this patch, and it's just gonna have to require some experimentation. I feel like probably the build that's going to emerge on top is going to be Dominator into Necro 3 into Treads, and then followed up with BKB or AC, and then later on going into these kind of right-click items. I think that's probably where we're heading with Lycan, but just gonna have to wait and see what the pros come up with. And once a new standard emerges, of course I'm gonna do videos on that. And I'm also going to, of course, cover other heroes, how they're adapting to the new patch. I have a Lone Druid video lined up where we see how Lone Druids can utilize the new Blade Mail, which actually is quite a strong item now on the bear. So if you don't want to miss that, make sure that you're subscribed to this channel and that you have notifications turned on so you can see the minute I post the new videos. And I'm going to leave you with my review of the new patch. And all is willing, I'll see you there.